Today's topic is a little bit more serious. It involves a player with a complicated legacy, a controversial past, and a lot of drama. Let's get into it.
Braun, center field, Vader going back, launches it, goal! Yes! A grand slam for Ryan Braun on a 3-2 pitch with 2 outs, and the
Should the Brewers retire Ryan Braun's jersey? It's certainly a loaded question with a lot of backstory and controversy behind it. On one hand, he was the face of the franchise for over a decade, one of the best hitters of his era, and helped bring the Brewers back to relevance. On the other hand, he disgraced the game, the team, and himself by taking performance-enhancing drugs, aka PEDs, lying about it, and allegedly sabotaging a man's career. His legacy is up for debate, which begs the question, will his number get retired? Before we dive deep into Braun, we need to talk about the Brewers and their history of retiring numbers. As of now, the Brewers have only 6 retired numbers. 7 if you include Bob Uecker, but there's not actually a number associated with him. Those players are former owner and commissioner Bud Selig, and players Paul Molitor, Robin Yount, Rollie Fingers, Hank Aaron, and of course, Jackie Robinson. Something to note about all of them is that they are all in the Hall of Fame, which Braun almost certainly will not be on account of the performance-enhancing drugs and also just not being a Hall of Fame caliber player. With that said, however, Braun does rank 3rd in Brewers history in Baseball Reference's wins above replacement stat, or WAR as I'll be referring to it. It's a way of quantifying a player's total value, and as a cumulative stat, it means that the more you earn, the more valuable you are. What does this all mean? Well, Braun is without a doubt one of the greatest Brewers ever, and the numbers show he deserves to have his number hung up with the likes of Yount and Molitor. However, the current precedent for Brewers, like I said, is only retiring the numbers of those who are in the Hall of Fame. There are other cases, like Jim Gantner, who wasn't a Hall of Famer, but nobody's allowed to wear his number anymore, essentially a soft retirement. So there's going to be a soft retirement for number 8 at a minimum, if not a full retirement. The thing is, Braun is much better than Gantner was. Gantner was a light-hitting, defense-first infielder, and Braun is the Brewers' all-time leader in career home runs. He's a much better player overall, and it certainly seems he should be placed in the tier of franchise icons mentioned before. So Braun wasn't a Hall of Fame caliber player, so why would the Brewers retire his number? Well, impact on a franchise can't always be quantified. Ryan Braun debuted in 2007, won Rookie of the Year, and in 2008 helped lead the Brewers to the playoffs for the first time since 1982. He only ever played for the Brewers and is one of their top all-time players. From a purely numbers and franchise impact standpoint, it would seem that Braun is a lock to have his number retired. That is, until you get to the scandal. First things first, Ryan Braun tested positive and was suspended for PEDs after claiming he did not do PEDs, and said,
"If I had done this intentionally or unintentionally, I'd be the first one to step up and say, I did it. I truly believe in my heart, and I would bet my life that this substance never entered my body at any point."
Oh, wait, you serious? Let me laugh even harder.
This is an indisputable fact. Everything after that is open for interpretation. One place where I will defend him is that he is not the reason that Dino Lorenzi got fired. If you don't know, Lorenzi was the one who was handling Braun's sample that initially tested positive in October of 2011, and the general narrative around him is that Braun began a witch hunt and did everything he could to get Lorenzi fired after testing positive. However, Lorenzi mishandled Braun's sample and was fired because of that, not because of Braun. This is an important distinction to make because a lot of the discourse around it is he got an innocent guy fired for doing his job, when in reality that is not the case. Lorenzi was dealing with a sample of a player, which if the test was positive, would have a massive impact on the entire sport, and he mishandled the sample. He fucked up, and he got fired for that. However, Braun certainly did not help his case by accusing Lorenzi of being an anti-Semitic Cubs fan who just had it out for him. So no, he did not get the guy fired, but he did look like a huge asshole while the whole thing was going on. And though he did help Lorenzi get his job back and it seems like they've made amends, it's still very hard to forgive Braun for his cheating. This impacts more than just his legacy, but a lot of moments that Brewers fans cherish. That 2008 wildcard chase? Tainted. 2011? Oh, that's definitely tainted. Time heals all wounds, but it might be a while for this one. So have those wounds healed? As I mentioned, Braun did help Lorenzi get his job back, and he's also done great charity work since then, notably helping create California Strong in 2018, which helps raise funds for those affected by disasters in California. They even held a charity softball game. He also helped to raise $1.2 million in 2020 to help healthcare workers, so to say he's done good work would be an understatement. This all leads back to the very complicated question, should the Brewers retire Braun's number? Honestly, I think they should. Hear me out. This situation is very similar to that of Barry Bonds with the San Francisco Giants. Both are franchise icons who have trouble with PEDs and are not always the most well-liked in baseball spaces. But the Giants retired Bonds' number anyways, and I think that was the right move since a majority of players in Bonds' time were likely juicing, though we can never know for certain since testing for PEDs was not used by the league back then. Something else I want to note is that there are teams with richer histories than the Brewers that have retired the numbers of players who aren't in the Hall of Fame. The Giants retired the aforementioned Bonds as well as Will Clark's number, and the Dodgers retired Fernando Valenzuela's number. Because Clark was a franchise icon and Valenzuela had a cultural impact that cannot be measured, it's in a similar vein, albeit at a much larger scale than Braun had, but it's still worth noting. If the Giants and Dodgers, two of baseball's most storied franchises, can make room to retire the numbers of franchise icons who may not necessarily be Hall of Fame talents, the Brewers can too. Also, if the Brewers can hang a banner for the 2020 wild card, they can retire the number of Ryan Braun. Circling back to the Barry Bonds comparison, Braun is certainly a different case from Bonds in the fact that he was one of the first major names to be suspended for PEDs after the testing was instituted. He is the one with the newly complicated legacy since no one was supposed to be juicing after the steroid era, and in Bonds' time it was just, well, everyone's doing it, so who really cares? That being said, I am still in favor of retiring his number. He was the face of the franchise for so long and was the main piece of teams that brought the Brewers their first taste of the playoffs in over a quarter century. Yes, he did PEDs. However, I feel that he's grown from that and people deserve to be given second chances and be allowed to change, which I believe he has. So should the Brewers retire Braun's number? Let me know what you think in the comments, and thank you for watching.